We'll call to order the meeting of the Berlin Council on Aging Board of Directors. Today, Tuesday, May 31st. And I will call we're doing it hybrid style today. And we have some in attendance here and some in the movie theater there in front of us. I'll call the roll of those on the board and in attendance. Bob Blair here, Pat Wheeler. I know she will not be here because she's at the doctor's appointment this afternoon. Kate Bliss.
Here.
Lori Fairbay, not yet.
Coming.
Karen Schultz.
Here.
And I see we have
Rachel.
Chris in attendance.
Rachel.
Oh, Rachel Boyer is there? Well,
Here. Hello.
good. Wonderful. So with all of that, do we have, does anybody wish to make a motion to accept the secretary's minutes as sent to us?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor? Kate Bliss,
Aye.
Karen Schultz,
Hi.
Bob Blair, aye. And
Rachel.
Rachel,
Hi.
me, I actually can see you. I don't think
You
go
forget
out
me
well.
today.
Everybody, good. All right. So they are approved. May we hear a treasurer's report?
Yes, you may. All right, so here we are as of stands for the month of May. Donations, we are at $131 even. Expenses were at $473, and that's 62 cents. Part-time wages are $1,348.13. And then director wages are $2,529.26.
Can you just repeat those again? Real quick?
Yep. Donations, 131 even.
Yep.
Expenses, $473.62.
Okay.
Director wages, $2,529.26. And then part-time wages is $1,348.13.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Do we hear a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's.
Do I hear a second from the screen?
I second.
Marvelous. All right, take a vote. Rachel Boyer,
Aye.
Karen Schultz,
Aye.
Kate Bliss,
Aye.
Bob Blair, aye. So we have therein a quorum, and it is approved. The treasurer's report is accepted as presented. What do we hear about the town account?
So, as of now, we are still having end of fiscal year for June 30th. As of now, we should be okay for closing out end of year. As you guys are well aware, gas prices have gone up, which means it takes a hit on the van, but expense wise, I think we should be okay. We have about $2,000 left in our budget to go through for the end of June. So that'll include any, Tai Chi, yoga, gas, any supplies that'll be needed, things of that nature. So I think we're going to be okay. If for any reason we were to be close, I talked with June and she basically stated that we can make if there was any specific item that we wanted to pay for and not have it go through the expense accounts, we can have it go through our donation account if we ever needed to. So that's just where we stand as of right now. But
How much does the presentation of yoga and Tai Chi cost us?
each session is $50.
And how many sessions in a
About 4 or
Fiscal
5,
year?
well, it's on average 4 or 5 a month. So 200 to 250 a month.
That's around 2,600 bucks a year. Does anyone on the board have any thoughts about it being somewhat self-supported? I mean, now I guess we suggest a donation of,
So to go with that, our new driver is going to be starting hopefully next week formally. She's going to be in training this week. So her and John will be splitting the hours, and she works for a couple neighboring towns. She said that what they do is that one town that she works with sells tickets to ride the van. So what, like a punch card, like you get like 10 slots. And then what they do is that depending on the distance that you go, multiple rides get punched out. So like if it's something within like 10 miles, it's one punch of a ticket or one flat fee. But then if they're going to like Worcester, it's even more money that way. I don't know if that's something we can look into, because I'd have to get clarification from June when she comes back. Because if we were to start charging, I don't know if the money's going to come straight to the Council on Aging or if it's just going to go straight to the general fund.
should be a revolving fund.
Well, that's the only question that we're going to have, is if we want to impose, specific payments for things, if we don't even have access to it, or if we have to make requests to get access to that money to be paid, it could complicate things. So I want clarification before we make any formal recommendations.
Are you familiar with revolving funds, Chris? Are they gnarly to set up?
I don't think so. I think you just have to qualify, and I'm not sure what the qualifications are.
Yeah, June's out for this week, so she'll be back next week. So I can run the idea past her and just see if we were to charge, obviously nothing ridiculous, but if we were to have, a set fee for the van, could we then have it be that it's set up in a revolving account? Or does it then just go straight to the general fund?
How does that sit with board members? Do we sound cheapo asking people to pay for it? Does it make solid financial sense to hope that it would be at least partly self-sustaining through a revolving fund? Do we look like Grinches, or is that something that's reasonable to ask people? I think some towns do.
They do.
About yoga again, still?
About the van.
Just, okay, the van. We started with.
Yeah, I think with Tai Chi and yoga, with those, we do get donations pretty much every session. I think, what we could do is, if you wanted to, we could get some more information about the van, because the van tends to be our biggest,
Yeah.
producer of expenses. If we can get clarification for van saying, if we did ABC, we could qualify for a revolving fund that the council can use for its expenses, that may be worth pursuing. I don't want to say, let's definitely do it with everything, and then we don't even get access to it. Or then we, you know what I mean? I want it to be something, if we're going to do it,
So you can check that with June.
yeah, when she comes
Alright.
back.
Do people normally donate money if they get a ride, or?
Some do, some don't. Some feel comfortable. So I've already told our drivers that if they feel comfortable accepting the donation, they just come and they bring it to me as soon as they get it. Some people feel more comfortable, like, writing in a check, or they may not feel comfortable hitting it right away. And I tell them that that's totally fine. You can just make out a check, and then that's fine. Some people do and some people don't. I would say we probably have 3 to 4 riders who we get consistently who do a check. We have some people who, kind of send in a check every once in a while that's a little bit bigger, to kind of be like, here's, a little bit for, 3-4 rides. It really just depends on the day and the person.
Chris, the town does have other services that produce revenue from the users, and I'm thinking of ambulance service. Certainly, that produces some pretty high bills, I believe, does it not? People who avail themselves of our ambulance services.
Yes, but we don't always get 100% back. People don't always pay their ambulance bill. I would say about half.
Yeah, that's about right.
And I would-
Are the
and
ones
then
who
there-
don't pay,
What's that?
are the ones who don't pay pursued, or is it just?
Oh, yes, they're pursued. Then at some point,
Pursue them,
I
then
think-
you get the
I
money?
think like 7 years or so, I think then we, as the select board, write them off. There's nothing we can do.
Wow,
Yeah,
and you think about half of them do that, kind of stiff the town?
I think so. Yeah,
Wowzer.
yeah.
Huh.
mean, do you already have a suggested donation if you don't decide to do a revolving account?
Yeah, we have for our Tai Chi and yoga, we have a suggested donation of $2 a session.
Mhm.
And then for the van, I believe it's $3 or $4 a ride. But we could up them, like that's not a problem. But we just, like I said, we have people who will religiously give something with every ride, and then we have some people that we don't necessarily get anything. So it is a mixed bag.
Laugh the idea of like a $3 check every time.
Yeah, I mean,
Usually when we get in checks, they're usually for, you know, like
Higher
$10,
amounts.
$15, yeah.
It's just that some, I think, may not be able to,
Yeah,
That's part of it,
Sure,
Yeah,
and you don't want to turn them away.
right.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we could say, you know, something along the lines of like, if you are going to Berlin or its neighboring towns, Hudson, Clinton, Marlboro, something like that, we have a suggested donation, you know, but there's no necessarily pressure. We could, but then we also have a lot of people who have to go to Worcester for rides too. I don't want to negate them from not using our services either. So,
You might just say, it's a suggested donation and then up the suggested donation because of the gas prices.
yeah,
either cash or a 3-gallon can of gas would,
Yeah.
or 15 bucks right there.
Or a gas card.
Yeah, right.
yeah,
Oof,
because I mean, we're just,
pretty tricky.
I mean, I think last month's gas bill was $250. So, and he didn't have a
And that was from
ton.
driving from here over to the gas station and back. right?
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, like unfortunately, I mean, we all know gas prices have what doubled since the beginning of the
At
year,
least.
so
Yeah.
it's, and I don't necessarily know if we're gonna get relief, and I will give John credit, like, he'll be like, you know, if I see cheap gas somewhere else, I'll go there purposefully, and I'm like, that's fine, but again, when you,
We had a dear friend who at his funeral had his son-in-law recall that he rode with his father-in-law sometimes. He'd drive past multiple gas stations on his way to far and distant western Massachusetts because he could get the gas for 10 cents a gallon less out there.
right,
Meanwhile, expending 20 gallons
gallons
of
of gas,
gas.
right.
Trying to get the cheap gas.
So, I mean, like I said, this is definitely, hey, Lori, this is just something that, you know, I can certainly get more clarification on from June and see, you know, if we were to, instead of doing the suggested donations, but to start having a charge, or if we were to try to look for some revenue to kind of balance out what we're expending, particularly for the van, how would this work? Would it then go into a revolving fund? Would it go to the general fund? Where would it go?
I think, and I guess the town has already realized that the worms in this concept are whether people feel like, "Well, it should be a town service, how come you're charging me? Or if I actually can't afford it, what's the mechanism by which you determine that they can't actually afford it? And if they won't pay, wow. Yeah, there are a lot of moving parts to this.
So like I said, these were suggestions that she brought to us, and I figured, you know, it's something to think about. Something else that she was saying too is that one of the towns that she works with also teams up with Clinton Livery for some additional rides. If, like, for some reason, like the van, we've had a couple instances where the van has had like multiple requests for rides on the same day, and we couldn't fulfill them all because we can't take 6 people in like 4 different directions.
Right,
She said that, that a couple of the towns, I guess, have contracts with Clinton Livery. I have no idea how much that would cost. I can even just ask them just to get some information if you guys would like, just to see if we needed their services. how that would go.
And they are available all the hours that we would be running van service.
Because most liveries, I think, work 7 days. Because like, if you think about it, like liveries will do like deliver, like will do drives on weekends to, airports and things like that.
Wow, same as Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
They're always available.
So
Wow.
it's
Any
just,
other thoughts from the board on this subject? We should, we shouldn't? We should study it? What are your thoughts? Karen and Rachel, I'm looking at you.
Okay,
Wanna-
well, wasn't that, oh, sorry, weren't we
That's
putting
okay.
that, putting that out in a questionnaire?
we could.
I thought that I recalled we were going to, maybe I was wrong, that we were gonna ask people, or was that
We
something? else?
didn't put that, no, in the Powder House News one, we didn't do that, because we just wanted to see what people thought of services currently.
Yeah,
I would say though, I mean, due to inflation, it wouldn't be unreasonable to ask for, more, because again, a lot of the other towns have had to do this to absorb as well.
Mhm.
I mean, my thought, and just a lot of it, because I know a lot of people in different towns that use this service just from the work that I do, that maybe upping the ask to donation is better, because like Chris said, some people just can't afford it. And you don't want them to then think they can't use it because they can't pay.
Right.
So I would think upping the donation would be upping the asking donation would be fine versus asking for a set amount of money from everybody.
I think that's a good idea.
sorry, go ahead, Lori.
I think that's a good idea. I would suggest putting a little article about it in the next Powder House.
That was my plan.
Yeah.
Explaining it, yeah.
That was my plan, was, we could come up with a, like, we could say instead of, $3 suggested, we're suggesting $5 only because due to rising gas prices, it's a lot more.
What do you say? We're suggesting this as a donation, but no one will be turned away
Yeah.
for lack of ability to,
To pay, no,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with publicizing the need, because you do worry if you up the donation request, it's going to be the same people who are donating now that will continue to have that increase in cost. But the more we can publicize the need for it, maybe those who don't normally donate will be more open to.
something to think about.
Yeah.
Just a heads up to you all as well with our new van driver, Betty. She has said that she is willing and able to work weekends. We normally don't do van rides on weekends. The Berlin seniors and us are gonna have that event on June 12th, and she is gonna do some transportation for us that day for anybody who wants to go but can't physically get there themselves. But I will leave it up to you guys as well, and we can talk about this more next meeting. If we think, for certain occasions, we could offer, a weekend ride barring we get, booking well in advance, and, we can say we will offer transportation to like a farmer's market or to something of that nature. She's offered her Saturdays and Sundays. I don't want to like use and abuse it, but at the same point too, I'm sure that there would be people who would take it up.
yeah. Nice to expand our offerings. Okay, which reminds me, we do have a Powder House News coming, well, we'll get to that anyway.
Yep.
We have one coming up, and I think one of the suggestions you've made is that the Meet Your section could be the two new drivers introducing themselves. and their
We could do that.
photographs. Yeah, and there could be an attendant article about considering
Yeah.
rate increases because of the soaring costs of fueling the bugger. Marvelous. Formula grant.
That money has come in. It is in our account. We have 2 years worth of formula grants that we can use ongoing. There is no limitation anymore. Prior to my starting, you had to use formula grant money within the fiscal year for certain purposes. They lifted that restriction. So we do have that money as well. If we did need it, we can use it for whatever we choose to do.
I thought there were some issues with getting access to formula. Oh, never mind, that's something else. Mothers are having a hard time getting access to
Formula, yes.
Yeah.
I realized that was a reach. Never mind. We'll just go on. Okay. Donations you already addressed. Powderhouse News. This is not on here, but I just sneaked it in.
Oh,
I feel like I'm following a different agenda.
me
Yeah.
too. Yeah, how about your turn?
Yeah,
Okay.
Bob and Pat's terms were officially up as of today. They've both renewed. So we are good with them.
Okay,
As long as
That's-
the council is still good with having both of them.
of course.
I mean, if you don't want me, that's fine. I'll go back and continue to weed my garden, which needs a lot of attention.
No, you start.
Okay.
So let me
And
just,
we also have, well, I will contact Wes Durant's son and see if they can.
we have gotten confirmation that he is formally in Maryland. So
Yeah,
he
we
is
know
no,
that.
yeah.
My only concern is I'm trying to figure a way to do it where if he hasn't been told that he's staying in Maryland, and then we say,
Well-
we have your resignation because you're not coming back, and he goes,
Well, then what we
What?
can do is we can just basically, I can even type up something and send it to his family, and it can just basically say something, due to the fact that you are no longer in the town of Berlin currently, we cannot hold your seat due to the fact that you're not here. And it doesn't have to allude to anything in the future. It can just say, here's the truth. As of this moment, you can't serve your term if you're not actively in the town.
okay.
And then that's very, it's, the reason, but it's not implying anything. Because his situation could,
Hold an address here.
No.
Correct. like-
because his situation may or may not change in the future. I don't know. None of us do, but, and if his situation did change, I would want him to come and run again. But
Well,
as
we
of,
can put that in the note.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's good.
We
Okay.
welcome you to come back if you.
Right, it doesn't seem like we're slamming the door on him
No.
before he's been apprised of the fact that he may not be coming back up here.
from what I heard, his daughter-in-law reached out to me a couple weeks ago. He seems to be settling very well down in Maryland. So I was happy to hear that. And I told her, I said, please keep him up, please keep, us updated on how he's doing. Like, we do miss him. We just want what's best.
Yeah, I wonder if they've told him yet that his apartment is no longer his over in Northbrook,
I would think he would have had to address that before he left.
or somebody did. So, yeah, that was the,
I know
Issue
his
of
son
concern,
shared,
I-
like you talked about.
yeah, I know him too, but I think the letter.
Yeah.
Worded,
Very, very simply.
Yeah.
That's fine.
membership on the board requires residence.
In
the
town.
of Berlin.
And then what we could do is when we get confirmation that that has been received, what we can do then is I can let Mary know, because then we can post the position. Because then
Yeah.
we do technically now have an empty chair.
Right. Okay.
Did you get all that?
Also, we should be, since this is that time of year, we should also be discussing whatever it is, chairman.
Chair
vice
and
chairman,
co-chair, yeah.
Secretary, treasurer, and we should decide on that, because I am not Vladimir Putin, I am not chairman for life, and not necessarily, I think having turnover and having fresh voices and fresh leadership is always a good thing to have, so I would welcome anyone else wanting to be that person or persons.
Pat expressed the same sentiment as well. That, she said if somebody else wanted to step in as chair, she would gladly, co-chair, she would.
So So is that something we would like to decide at this meeting, or do we want to put it as a to be decided by next meeting? Does anybody want to stick their hand up to be chairperson? Does anyone want to be the treasurer? Anyone, the screen is clouded with hands raised up. And
Well, and secretary too, anybody who wants to take over. I mean, I can keep doing it, or
Give it a go.
what's that? I didn't hear you.
I'll stay in my position unless somebody wants to give that a go, and I can still serve as your backup.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the backup.
help, nobody wants to be chairperson?
Bob wants rescuing.
No, I just think fresh eyes, fresh thoughts are always useful to have. And now, of course, we're also talking about maybe having at least one new person on the board, see how that goes. Although I think if someone is going to be chair, it's useful if they've been on the board for a while and understand.
Well, it sounds like secretary and treasurer are kind of good for now, but if you want to, we can potentially talk about a new chairsperson come next meeting. If you guys just want to think about it.
I feel like you do a lot to gather information for us. And we give our opinions freely, so. Well, I appreciate the not wanting to be Putin comment and have some, you know.
Yes,
Unless you're like desperate to get out.
well, I've given up my role of attacking people in neighboring towns and killing them off. So I apparently don't qualify for Putin's. Anyway.
And we're
that's
very happy about that.
Yes, right, so we're neighboring town. All right,
So next is newspaper updates.
yes.
So as of now, the Powder House News has been canceled with
LPI,
LPI. So we had to give them a 6-month notice. They got it at the beginning of the month. We are good. We are terminated as of the end of the year. I have talked with Joe over at Clinton Item. I had heard that Joe Jr. did have some health issues, but I talked to Joe Sr. last
Oh.
week, and he said that we are still fine to resume with them starting next year. Because I told him the first issue that we would likely be working with them on is going to be due in February of 2023. Because our last issue with LPI will be in December.
Okay.
We have to see through our term with them. So we have a few more.
so that's the end of December, but the issue for January, February,
Will be through LPI. That'll be our last issue through them. And then starting at Clinton Item for the March, April
March,
issue.
April. Huh,
It is what it is. We have to see it
yeah,
through.
yeah.
So yes, so I did talk to Joe Senior at Clinton Offset. So Lori, he said that all that they're gonna need to do from us is they just need an online template of our newsletter. And he said, as long as we can send them the online template, they are fine. They can print off whatever we send them.
Okay, by online template, I'm guessing they just want a PDF to print from.
Pretty much, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
I don't know if we need to purchase any software to create a newspaper template or not. I just wanted to, since again, I know that this is more your expertise, I just wasn't sure if we need anything, we can certainly get it. I just want to make sure we have enough time to do so.
Okay, I'm thinking they just want a PDF to print from.
Okay,
It's normal 8.5 by 11.
yeah.
I can give him a call and talk to him.
Right?
I can give him a call and talk to him if you send me the information.
Will do, because LPI has their own template. So LPI has a template, Lori. What is it? Like I don't know if it's an 8.5 by 11 or if it's a bigger sheet that's just broken up into different quadrants, how they do it.
They're 8.5 by 11 and they just slip their sheets in between
Okay,
pages we give them.
perfect. Okay. So if for any reason we do need to get any kind of software for a newspaper template, we'll address it. We've got plenty of time. But like I said, I did want to, Kate had let me know about Joe Jr., so I just wanted to make sure that, we would be good to resume our contract with them. he said that there'll be no issues.
Yeah, it was like, oh my goodness, is he already about to
I
make a
know.
decision about this?
Well, we had already canceled
Yeah,
LPI, so
what
that's,
I thought,
yeah, no,
we
and I
voted on
appreciate it.
that,
So,
yeah.
yes,
I
so we
wasn't
should be
aware
fine.
Joe Junior had-
It was very last.
Yeah, it was not it was a very much of a surprise from the little bits I heard.
I
So,
mean, is this something that's, oh, is this something that's gonna be an issue going forward?
he didn't say, so Joe Senior said that his daughter-in-law and he has other family that do help him out with getting things printed and out.
Yeah,
So, and I had asked him that, I said, are you gonna be able to handle this? And he said that he would have no issue.
wow,
So
well, that's too bad about his son, Cam.
it sounds like he's on the road to recovery and that he's gonna be, yeah,
But it was just a surprise.
so, yeah.
Wow, what other poopy news do we have?
Well, that was it for poopy news for me, but
No, I'm just thinking, I was talking to somebody today and they're talking about, this is depressing, that's depressing, you have this thing, that's depressing, and this is depressing, it's like,
well,
come on. good
Um,
news
The
here.
sun is shining.
yes,
Yeah,
we've got some more, positive news with the events.
yeah,
So, for events, guys, we do have our code-sponsored event with the Berlin Seniors for the Abby Kelly Foster presentation. As I mentioned, Betty Ann's gonna be doing the transportation that day. I told her, we'll do like 3 hours for her, just, we can do smaller trips for her, if she needs to take people that way. I will post it online, and just say that, we are offering this option as well. A suggestion came up about sending, invitations out to people because it tends to potentially like attract people to come.
Hmm.
I didn't know if that was something, if you guys thought would be a good idea or not. If we wanted to hold off for this one and we wanted to say, for example, plan multiple events and then hand out invitations, that also works, but it was just something to think about.
yeah, I'm not, so where do you get a list of people to send it to?
I have a list. I have a senior registry and,
So
we
you
also,
can send out 700 and something invitations?
or we, again, or we can pick and choose, again, like send, block ones to Northbrooks as a whole and then
Yeah,
certain households, if we know people are ambulatory and,
do you have any feedback from Northbrook 1 or 2 about their receptiveness to having a van pick up some people and take them?
in terms of the events, I haven't heard anything as of yet. We are doing weekly grocery runs from there and it has been successful. And we pick up for both 1 and 2. We have a shortened version of our van rider application. And it's just basically a 1-pager where we have mandate, like their demographics and their emergency contact. The longer application has like, where do you go frequently? But in this situation, it just, with the shorter application, the van has like 20, 30 of them already on there. So if people wanted to ride the van that day, we just mandate that they, follow COVID protocols and they have a completed application. And as long as they do that, they are free to ride.
Hmm.
So that would not be a barrier if somebody say wanted to use the van.
I think it's great that the COA and Berlin Seniors have been co-sponsoring events. It's mutually beneficial. I was a little bummed that the excellent concert we had at the 1870 with the Seacoast Stompers had a turnout of about 27 people, and it could have been a whole lot more. I mean, it was an old, I jokingly call it a geezer band, but I gotta say, they all had their chops for sure. They were pumping out some really foot stomping Dixieland kind of music, and I think they had the windows open so you could hear it all over. And I don't know what you need to do. There were 2 or 3 people from Northbrook at it, and they said they don't understand it because they tell some of their friends, and nobody comes out of their apartments and goes to stuff. And I said, whoa, what does it take?
Some of the suggestions that came out of that meeting were, doing like the ice cream social, like we had talked about.
Uh-huh.
And, if we had to worry about like necessarily like scooping ice cream, we could do like a hoodsy event or like a popsicle event, something like that, where it's very,
Yeah,
infection control friendly.
right.
And then, we had the idea also if, like we do like, like America's Got Talent, like does Berlin have talent? Because it's a very easy thing that would get a lot of attention. Everybody would want, and it would be very easy, set up minimal costs, but it could have a bigger turnout. And you could have, different categories for different age groups.
Why do you think people didn't go? Or some people still because of COVID, they're a little.
I think it's
Hesitant?
partly COVID. I think it's partly too, and this is not a problem with just us. There's a lot of people, when they hear of like councils on aging, they think, and I quote, it's for that really, really, really old people.
Yeah.
And it's not, like I said, it's not an uncommon problem. So a lot of COAs have been having, easier time grabbing the 80+ crowd,
Yeah.
but the under 80 crowd, they're having a harder time with.
One of the most interesting and to me, happiest part of that concert was that this mother and her son, who was about 5 or 6, came in partway through it, came up the back stairs. So they're right near the stage and they were wailing away on the stage with the music. Little kid came in, he's pointing at the guys on the stage and getting wide-eyed. And then later on, he and his mother were actually dancing off to the side up front. He was totally into it. He was just really wrapped up in the music. And some other kid with a parent was also there. Same thing. So the music was attractive. I'm a little concerned about the Abby Kelly Foster presentation. It's supposed to be on the South Common, and if weather intervenes, it'll be in the 1870 again, and that's lined up, but I don't know. Sometimes you tell people about this is going to be a really interesting historical presentation about somebody who was a suffragette and a social activist, a real firebrand social activist in the 1830s and through the 1870s and yada yada, and their eyes kind of glaze over or whatever, and you say, what do we need to get you maybe ice cream? I don't know. Really? That's the way you spring people out of their nests.
I think a lot of people now are so used to isolating because, COVID has scared a lot of people. Maybe just having some of these shorter socials that, like food, sodas,
Food is
whatever.
always a big
Food will
draw
always
for
sell. It's like,
people,
you know what I mean? Like these small kind of little gatherings, I think will help kind of take off some of the dust. And it will, again, if people know, okay, it's a very fine line little thing, like I can kind of come and go as I please. That I think takes off some of the pressure. Because it's not going to be like, okay, now I'm in like this room for 2 hours with a presentation that I may or may not like. And now it's, you know what I mean? Not that these presentations are not good, because of course they are, but again, like I'm just thinking that, again, we now live in a different world and, it may be something to think about, kind of smaller, shorter, sweeter little gatherings may be the way to go.
more people to socialize.
Yeah.
Reacclimate.
Exactly.
I didn't really know what the Abby Kelly Foster presentation was about until you told us about it just now, Bob.
Yeah.
Is the word out there?
I'll have to check it and see whether or not it's been publicized on Berlin Neighbors Connect.
It should have been. I linked it, but again, it was an older posting because we had multiple
Right,
events at the
so we
same
need to
time.
refresh it.
So we will refresh it.
And I'm making up some plywood signs that are about 3 feet wide by 2 feet or more high, whitewash them. And I know Mary Wheeler has bought some larger stencils because Judy Mills, for each of these things, has really busted at getting out these artsy signs, but the printing is of a size where you drive by it and you know, what, something's going on. I don't know what it is, but trying to make some larger. And I have to get the approval of Chief Shartner and Freddie Cummings about being able to put them up the end of Pleasant as you're going from Pleasant into Central, 5 corners and coming off the rotary in South Berlin. So there'll be some reasonably large signs that people can see. So you get that stuff.
Those are hard too, because sometimes you only get like 2 words before you drive by them. You're like, okay, that was Tuesday. I don't know what's happening.
Well, that's why they have a rotary. So you go around, see it again, and you go around the third line, and you go around again.
Big Ben Parliament.
Yeah. So anyway, instead of having small signs now, at least this time we'll have at least three signs. If I get permission, there'll be 3 signs.
What day is she coming again?
The 12th.
12. It's a
That's
Sunday.
a Sunday.
Oh,
Like I said, beyond this, there's nothing like bigger event scheduled. I don't, like I said, we don't have to plan anything like this moment. We can, think about it and do it for next meeting. But, again, like if we wanted to have like a couple ice cream socials, I did look into the cost of a truck. It's, especially again now with gas, it's just, I mean, we're gonna be looking at easily a few $1,000s. So, and again, like, we'd have to be careful, like, because we're gonna have to rent it out for a specific block of time. If we may have to pay them depending on how far they're gonna be traveling. So it,
it's usually a guaranteed cost.
pretty much. So,
Are there health board implications if you have 5-gallon buckets of ice cream and somebody's scooping and
yeah.
dropping it into a
We'd
dish?
have to be careful that, because again, like the person would have to be, like following, like, are they gloved? Are they wearing a mask, hairnet? And then, again, making sure that the ice cream remains at appropriate temperature. That's why like a hoodsie or a popsicle would be
You'll know
easier.
immediately if it isn't, because it'll pour out of. the
Right, but like
pipe.
something like a hoodsie or a popsicle would be easier because like you could, hypothetically get, coolers full of ice. They're individual servings, they're wrapped, so it's not like somebody's just gonna put hand in an ice cream and contaminate it for somebody else.
And yet I'm thinking of places like Sudbury Valley trustees have a summertime ice cream social at their Woolbach farm.
Right,
And
I
I don't
mean,
know what they do that's magic.
they
but-
probably just have Board of Health permits.
So we need to bug the Board of Health,
We'd have to get a permit.
say they get a free Sunday if they give us permission.
Can you get one for like the summer?
Well, so another
Another.
kind of topic that is relevant, but a little off topic. I met with Scott Hopkins a few weeks ago, and he was saying that the kitchen up at Mosaic does have Board of Health certification. They're all surf safe. And he said if we ever wanted to use the kitchen for a couple days a month for meals, whatever we wanted to do, we could, he said that he would talk to the people up there, and that we may be able to find a way to do something mutually beneficial.
That's
So that is
interesting.
also another option because, and I did see the kitchen, it is in it, a commercial kitchen
Yeah.
with, appropriate, everything.
Stainless stuff. and-
We could hypothetically, if we wanted to, we could bring our own supplies, like spices, things like that, leave the extras there, or we could, specifically use our own stuff, just using like their, ovens or, fridges or things like that. So he did say, he's like, it does get booked, but they usually book it out enough in advance that you would know when there's gonna be openings. So he's like, a day or two a month would not shake anything up there.
And would this be an event that we would beam just at seniors? Because otherwise you would get
Well,
people coming in
But
from
but that may not be a bad thing either,
Mosaic and whatever.
but that may also not be a bad thing. Getting more word out there too. Because I mean, if we did do anything there, we'd have to open it up to their residents as well. We couldn't exclude them.
More ice cream. I
They,
like the
they
idea.
do feed the entire town at Halloween.
So,
Yeah.
like I said, it's something to think about. Like I said, Scott, showed me around. He's like, here's what we could do if you guys were interested. I mean, again,
Yeah,
because
we
I
ought to
mean,
explore that.
yeah, because I mean, like the cooking classes and stuff like that. So there is an option.
Is it, Chris, do you think it's really, well, I don't know, we'd have to ask the health board, I guess. I mean, if you're not preparing food, you can't even scoop ice cream in the
No.
kitchen that.
No,
1870?
because we researched this I had to do some research into this for one of the food options before we got the grab and go meal idea.
Yeah,
Because we were trying to see, so like if say, for example, like anybody were to make anything, each of them individually have to be Surf Safe and Board of Health approved. They flat out say on the Board of Health, there for their permitting, that for you to have anything that's gonna kind of be left out in the open, it's gotta be basically temperature, like it has to be able to sit at room temperature. So like it can't be anything that needs to be refrigerated or anything that needs to be, heated, because then that's gonna require a permit.
Is
So
that
like,
what- Is that what tripped up the Lions Club? Because they finally gave
Probably.
up their little wagon there because they got,
I think
Sick
their
of
wagon was not, up to code.
so that also could be it too, but that's what, because we were looking into seeing what are the exceptions to needing Board of Health approval. And they were saying that like if you had something that was like shelf stable, like bagged, you know, like chips or things like that, they're automatically already sealed, contaminated, like sealed, not contaminated, and they're already shelf stable. So that's not a problem. But anything that would involve us, you know, either having anything that would be hot or cold, we would then be looking into a permit. But again, like I said, if we could prove that we had coolers for like Hoodsies popsicles type of thing, that would probably be much easier for us to go to the Board of Health, say, listen, here's what we're gonna do.
Well, I think that Lilac Hedge Farm might be amenable to assisting us in that regard, because they did have freezers in here that we used for some.
I mean, if you guys want, I can certainly reach out to them and we can even try to do an ice cream social there. They have the permits, they have the training,
They're being,
Lilac Farms.
you don't mean to Rutland.
Well, I mean, but, no, I guess not, but I mean, if say, for example, like we wanted to do something like Rhoda or, you know, something like that where it's nearby, we could.
Well, visit the cows. Yeah, you
So,
wouldn't have gotten anybody into it last night. We drove by, I was like,
yeah,
whoa.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic, I talked to, I don't remember why we were making calls. But the folks who have the ice cream shop there at the, it's the corner of Sawyer Hill and 62 there.
Okay,
Oh, Berlin Farms.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. I think I remember that, right? They had talked about donating to a COA event at one time, like ice cream or doing something, so maybe
They have a deck where you can eat.
a partnership.
and again,
there.
like they would have the permits already
Yeah,
and we could, you know, potentially just reimburse them for their,
Yeah.
you know, supply.
they were gonna offer ice cream to people who participated in the roadside pickups.
Yeah.
I was gonna get a big sundae. but
I mean, I
They're
can
gonna
be
certainly.
Calling again.
Yeah, I mean, it could even be something where like if they're willing to, you know, if they could supply even just the ice cream and we had to pay for toppings or something like that, it still would be much easier,
Right,
you know. I can call, I have
yeah,
no
that might be
objection.
worth an ask.
Because,
they
and
could
again,
put
like,
up
because we could have something,
Tables
be-
outside and the
Yeah.
porch and
Your
all that.
parking's a little tight,
but again, we could
Yeah,
we could either
that's
use the
fine.
van, because we could do something like during the day
Yeah.
when, you know, I mean, I'm
People.
sure they're gonna get slammed on the weekends, but if we even did something like on a Wednesday afternoon or something like that, they're probably not gonna be as jammed.
What if the Byrne family has, if that's considered a commercial kitchen
I think
inside?
it is, yeah,
Really?
yeah, because they now cook stuff inside.
And they are moving to Berlin. They're building a house
They
right
are,
above.
yes.
Yeah,
Wouldn't be a bad idea to connect with Jared and Sheila.
Okay, I can do that.
They're usually off here, but I wouldn't be surprised if they would be open to something, I don't know.
I'll reach out. Can't hurt, right?
I mean, they're off from the orchard.
yes, yes.
Landscaping is,
Well, they're doing that,
Robust.
yeah, but they're also preparing the orchard.
yes, yes, they have
Yeah.
a lot going on.
They do. Okay, so some.
So that's something to think about, I guess.
that's
And then
it.
let me contact Berlin Farms, see if we can, you know, see if they can do it. I know Hudson does have an ice cream truck for rent, like for the day. Like I said, it's probably gonna be a bit expensive, but again, we do have, you know, reserve in the donation fund
Yeah.
if we wanted to do it.
Well, I mean, you do that if you wanted prepackaged cones with the little wrappers on them and all that stuff. I think it's cooler if you have a little thing that slops all over you with ice cream and sauce dripping out all over your clothes.
Okay,
It's much more tasty and homey.
got it. Okay. I'll reach out to them.
Everyone except those who have to clean those clothes think that's a great idea.
Yeah, you're right. We should be handing out spray and wash.
Yeah.
And then
Free chocolate
the,
sundaes and
just the
spray.
only other event that they were talking about was that the library and the Berlin seniors are talking about genealogy presentations. That may be something that, you know, if the COA was interested in as well, may be worth exploring.
One thing that I think we talked about when we were at the Berlin seniors meeting was somehow bringing to Berlin a antiques roadshow kind of thing where people can bring in something and they pay $5 for an evaluation.
Hmm.
3 or 4 of it goes to the evaluator and the rest goes to, as a fundraiser.
It could be pricey, but I mean, we can certainly look into it. You know, an antiquity expert or something.
I think it wasn't, I don't think it was Skinner, who now are in Framingham, not Bolton. And Boston they're in too. Somebody mentioned the name. I guess we'd have to go find out what that was.
We can get prices. I mean, if it's too expensive, we don't do it, that's fine, but we can at least get prices. Okay,
Yogi.
so other than that, just the other FYIs are the mosaic with the kitchen.
Oh.
And then, our fiscal year is the end of June, and I'm gonna be taking some days off in June. Just periodically, so
How's the house coming?
we close next week, which is one of my days off, so, yeah,
How are you gonna get in? You're gonna close the house and then you stand outside? or how's that?
exactly.
Not that kind of closing. Okay.
So, yeah, so that was it for FYIs.
And how is Shrewsbury is the place to live?
I don't know yet, we'll figure it out,
That's right, you're not in there yet. Cool. Wow.
so.
Old business, any other old business that anyone has on their minds? I'll wait the required 5 minutes to hear any thoughts that may arise.
Do we have a date for when we need to get the Potter House News to LPI?
It is, hold on just a second. I believe it is the 17th.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have any hot ideas for what you'd like to see in it? We have the 2 drivers who are gonna do the meet the.
We, I'll do a write-up about the survey. We haven't had that many responses as of yet. We'll keep it open for now, but we'll do a blurb of the results that we have as of now. I'm gonna be doing some continued work with police and public safety, so I'll have a blurb in there about that as well.
Yeah. Well, don't feel badly about not getting a monster response because the town planning board has put out this thing about housing
Housing, yeah.
needs and
Oh, yeah. we're getting
we've got a Mickey
no
Mouse,
responses.
Mickey Mouse response so far.
So,
I think you need to offer people, every 10th person gets a $25 gift
We need to
certificate.
find the people on the Facebook page who are complaining about it and walk a coffee over. Have you filled this out yet?
Yeah,
so,
funny,
See,
everybody's
that's-
got something to say when there's something that they don't like, but when it comes time to offering constructive
When it would, yeah,
suggestions.
when it would be constructive.
So if there's any other ideas, suggestions, we'll do that. I will make sure that we put in a little blurb about the suggested donation going up.
Yeah.
And reiterating that we're not gonna deny rides, but just like everything else, our budget doesn't magically expand because gas
Right.
expands.
Right.
So. Though it would be
Our
great if it
budget
did,
doesn't expand because Exxon's profits go up.
so.
Was that a political state? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we need to rein you in here.
Yeah, that's right. Something else was there's a reason you may want to have the chairperson. There's, there's an article on the who, what, where, when, and why. I thought it might be interesting, and I think Rebecca von Geldern and Barry might be able to, and Drew Miller might be able to wing out an article about how many of the town streets got their names. Because when we did the Veterans Day thing a couple of years ago, we were listing all the people who had died in these various wars. And I was like, oh, that's a street name in Berlin. That's another street name in Berlin. So I know some of them have come to have the names that way, but there are other ways they've come to have the names too. I think it might be interesting. The modern ones are usually the people who build the houses that occupy the streets. but
Right.
That's not so interesting.
Has there been like, I don't know if there's even been like between like maybe streets, buildings, things of that nature, like even expanding it like this in Berlin, like kind of like a name your town almost, and then you could kind of talk about different things. You know, start with the, you know, streets, buildings, you know, something kind of like, you know, do something like that.
And it's the Hearst House that's coming back, and that's named after Joe Hearst. Oh, no, I think it had to do with the conveyance for people who have passed away in town. That's- I can't actually tell you a date when that's gonna be up.
Could we maybe do some stories on businesses in Berlin? I mean, we did one on Cordelia Farms because the name changed, but Balance Rock Farm hasn't been done. Jerry's
On the general-
Berlin Orchards hasn't been done.
Which one?
Berlin Orchards.
Berlin Orchards.
I'm
Might be nice to have something on businesses in Berlin.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say, hey, do you want us to do this article, and maybe we can do so, there's a good social.
Yeah. Send us an article about your crime together with 12 5-gallon tubs of ice cream, and we'll put it in the article, not the ice cream.
No, I think that that's a good idea, Lori.
Okay, good. It's good filler stuff too.
The ice cream is the filler stuff.
Anything else?
Let's see, we're sneaking up on 5 o'clock. We don't want to run over time here.
We are on 5 o'clock.
Oh, yes. I would like to assign us all a homework assignment, which would be to consider how we feel the COA is doing at this stage in terms of how we think the COA could or should be, and what we would envision as being a successful program of activities and offerings within the next 3 to 5 years. And if everyone could think about it long and hard and then put down some concrete ideas and bring it to the next meeting, I think it would be good food for discussion.
That's good.
Anybody have an objection? No, does it seem like a reasonable exercise?
Good idea.
One nod,
Yes.
one tilting of the head and a thumb.
Mhm.
Okay, good. So let's think about that for the next meeting, which is on June
28th.
28th. Does anybody have any other business for this meeting?
No.
Hearing none, I would accept the motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion is made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Fire away. Wheeler still not here. Kate Bliss. Kate has an eye. Lori Fairbank.
Aye.
You got 2 eyes. Kate has 2 eyes. Lori has
Sitting
1
too
eye.
close to Bob, it's rubbing off.
Lori's a
Serious.
sidewalk. It's like, yeah.
So I get to see her again.
Yeah. Bob, we can see you.
Karen Schultz.
Aye.
Did I,
Rachel.
Rachel, did I leave you out again? I'm sorry. Rachel?
Aye.
But I saw your face and I saw your hand, so I know. One layer, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.